Good. You could pick out some quote that I said that was for anyway.
Second, third grade.
It was about the library books in the schools last week. It was so important that they brought that up. I just like that we had that meeting with the which was so good. And then the next day, they always laugh. Yeah.
But I can see it.
You know, like, want to do it.
No.
Yeah. Discredit some of them here. Yeah. Not a cruel way, but
yeah.
It should be
awesome not having
in
that.
charge of stuff, you know.
Yeah. You have no idea how long.
Like an hour later, it came in.
It comes down to lawsuit.
Yeah.
Organizations are watching.
An hour later,
Yeah.
They'll be there.
we thought it was all in the.
They've been watching
men's
since
bathroom.
2023, so.
We don't know where it was, men's bathroom.
Checking everything.
100%.
Was it?
Well, it's a shame.
There's one side door, right there. We usually pour hot sauce
Especially this
down
past
there.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
The good news you can afford it, I'm sure it's not great, but like, for sure.
No, sir. Well,
She didn't even fix that.
it's
Yeah,
like,
so, like,
it smelled like rolling because it was obviously it was. So we just need to clean it.
Stay in the store. I hired you.
Yeah.
I always say it's up to you. So you know I'm gonna get screwed. She's gonna say, no, you see. Well, it's clean up.
I know.
Or she just walked and told me that. She says I should get a
I
text.
can't believe
Next.
that car did not miss. I can't believe it was pine tree.
So anyway, it turns on. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Because attorneys aren't cheap for everything.
We have a car went off the ditch right in front of Leo. Like, Leo got 30 seconds. The guy was still embedded in his front yard. And Leo had to get someplace. If he had been out there like 30 seconds or a minute later, that car would
She
just
just wants
go.
to pay for this cleanup.
Came right over the huge smoke pile from cleaning the driveway. Went through that, almost like missed the time.
Don't say at least they don't cancel meetings all the time like they feel.
Went through that, snow over his driveway and down in right to his home. Yeah, it was embedded deep.
I'd like to call the Dryden Township meeting to order. If everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you want to take roll call, April?
Ethan,
Here.
English,
Here.
Lowney, Pepperell, here, Smith.
We'll open it up for public time.
Well, I guess I can start with Ann Flory, Jonathan Road, just wanting to know what the status of the blight situation is at the Taylor household. Last time I was here, we were gonna publish something in the paper as notification. We were to wait 30 days and then I believe you're going to court. So I just need to know what step are we on now?
We're still waiting our 30 days. I don't know if you want to speak to it.
Yeah, so in Michigan, when you amend an ordinance that has certain types of penalties with it, which that ordinance did, it comes effective 30 days after publication. So it was published on January 18th. That 30-day period runs February 17th, which is next week. My understanding is that Mr. Shoemaker is making arrangements to, after that February 17 date, take pictures of the property from the neighbors' houses, which I don't know exactly who the neighbors are around there, but with, okay,
From mine, yeah.
Okay, I suspected that was the case. My understanding is that Mr. Shoemaker plans to be out there and coordinate with you to take pictures from your property after the 17th, and once we have those pictures in hand, then we have, that's the evidence we start with, and we have a conversation about the best strategy to move forward with the legal case.
So is there gonna be like a company hired to go in and clean it up? And then do you have priorities on, we've got like 100 tires back there, we've got probably 50 vehicles back there.
So all of that is a fair question. The issue that you have to start with is when you file the lawsuit, you don't just get to file the lawsuit today and then tomorrow you get to go in there and bill him $100,000 for companies that are hired to come in and clean up on it. You've got to get a court's determination that yes, there's a problem here, and then the court gives guidance as to how we're going to move forward in cleaning things up. So, the short answer on that is this is a process that takes time just simply because that's the way the court system works. The same reason is nobody in this room would want a governmental authority to be able to come in and tell them what to do without some oversight. You also have, the flip side of that is when we are on the governmental side, you've got to go through that process. So there will be priorities. Some of that depends upon what arguments that are made. Again, I don't want to get too far down the road here because I don't know what arguments he's going to be making to, in our experience, when we have dealt with these individuals that have blight tend to have a large number of justifications for what they do, and justifications tend to be different every situation. Some of them are more valid from a legal perspective than others, and it just depends on what the arguments are that they raise and how the court is going to deal with that.
So we should probably take drone pictures again then next week also.
Well, and that's, that comes back to a conversation of how much the township wants to be involved with using drone pictures. The first step I would say is let's take pictures from ground level and let's see what we can get from there and what is visible from your property. And then once we know that, see the other thing is if you have to, we do have the ability, once litigation is started, you have the ability to do what's called a request for inspection, which in civil litigation basically means an opportunity to go on the property and actually take pictures of things from on their property. And that oftentimes is significant when you get in these types of cases because as you can well imagine, pictures with 1,000 words, and you're able to present that type of evidence in front of the judge, that tends to be pretty persuasive when you deal with, okay, this is not just somebody who's got a couple of classic cars up on blocks in their backyard. This is a real problem. So again, a lot of it's going to depend upon what those pictures show. The good news is, it was a little bit warmer today. We're starting to get a little bit of snow melt for the first time in a month. If the forecast looks like that's going to continue over the next week. Everything looks beautiful when it's under a foot of snow. When it melts off, it tends to be a lot uglier. And so if that continues, that will certainly help when they come out and take pictures next week. And then see what those pictures show and what the best method to proceed forward with.
So you're going to review that before you go to court to understand what more, because I don't want you guys to go to court and then the judge say, oh, it doesn't look bad enough.
Exactly, and that's the concern. And so the question becomes, do we have enough to ask the judge to make a ruling right off, or do we need to, we've got enough to get into court, but we really want to have an opportunity to go on there and take pictures from on the property and then present things to the judge. And that's kind of some conversation that we're going to have once we see those pictures.
All right, we're going to organize a drone anyway and have the pictures and send them to you so you have them. And then you can figure out what to present to the court.
My clarification on that is I would not want, I can tell you, like I say, I don't know what the township's position is going to be on whether they want to use drone pictures or not. I can tell you from a legal perspective, I'm not going to want to use any pictures that were taken on or before February 17th because I want to get those pictures after the effective date of the ordinance amendment.
Okay,
so
after the 17th.
I'm not going to be using anything from before the 17th.
Okay.
And then, like I say, there will be a conversation with the township as far as what the township wants to do or how the township wants to proceed with whether or not they want to use those types of pictures. And that's really more of a decision that the township will make than I will. But that's the procedure.
This should have been the process, like 4 years ago. We should have been all laying out this plan. So That's why the neighborhood is just about had it with this township. So we're running out of patience. So after the 17th, we'll send a drone up. We'll send it up on just the road. We won't put it over their property, and I'll give you the information. And then township can decide again what they want to do. But I don't want to see the township then kick it down the road, another month for this and another month for not that. And then you come back to me, you know, because I've developed 100 pictures of the property and drone pictures. We've done all this work, and there's no plan. Now there's a plan. I'm glad there's a plan, but now let's stick to it and get a good solid case. Let's not be monkeying around now with trying to send somebody out and there's snow and blah, blah, blah.
So I'm going to be upfront with you. Some of this is about setting expectations. Courts do not tend to move fast. That's one of the things that you have to understand. And so we're going to have, you know, assuming the township authorizes us to file a lawsuit on this, you know, again, there's a conversation there about how that works. First thing that happens, the absolute fastest you're going to go is you file the motion or you file the complaint. They're still going to have time to be able to respond to that complaint. If we need to get on the property and get pictures on the property, that's going to be another month. Those requests to inspect, you have to give them 28 days notice of when you want to be out there. So I don't want to be, like I say, the township is moving forward and is taking steps to try to work with this. But I don't want you to think that this is a situation where the township waves a magic wand that files a lawsuit on, say, for example, March 1st, and by March 5th, there's bulldozers out there clearing out debris and things like that. It just simply doesn't work that fast because the court system does not work that fast. So again, the township is moving forward with this and is wanting to take steps to try to address this. But even under the best case scenario, there's still, unless they roll over and say, okay, we give up, we're willing to do whatever we have to do to bring it back into compliance, it takes time in order to get court orders to get things enforced and get things done. In my experience, when you deal with a blight situation that's this bad, it's relatively rare for someone to just roll over and give the township what they want as soon as they get served with the lawsuit, just simply because by the time it gets to this stage, that's not a cheap cleanup. It's going to cost money, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, it's taken a long time to get to this stage, and so that pain tends to result in an initial reaction of we're going to fight it. Now that's not to say that the township does not, you know, we're not going to bring a lawsuit if we don't think the township's going to prevail overall in the end, but I don't want to sugarcoat things and make you, if we're back in here in March and things aren't cleaned up, it's not because the township isn't doing anything, it just, sometimes the court systems take time to work their way through things.
Yeah, I can work with that. I just want Chief Peters to be aware that when you do serve them notice, that he's aware of what's going on, because they're very volatile once they receive notice. And the problem in the past has been, you guys will send a letter and give them 30 days or whatever, and then they lash out, they break my fence boards, they steal my garbage cans, they throw my trash in the river, and then and so they're very volatile. So as long as you guys coordinate with Chief Peters so he knows, and maybe they can do drive-bys just to, make sure that everything's okay down there. Because they will start lashing out at all the neighbors now.
And that's obviously that's a little bit of a different issue. That's problematic. I don't want to downplay that. I know the police department does a good job keeping an eye on things. They have standards of proof that they have to deal with. The standard of everybody knows that this person did this. Well, that's not enough to move forward with the criminal prosecution of things. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen that way. I'm just saying it has to be proven.
Oh, I know. I'm not dumb. You're not dealing with a dummy here.
I understand that.
All right, is there anyone else for public time?
Is there anything, I haven't seen the new ordinance, but is there anything for people that, could they be like grandfathered in? I mean, I know I can name off probably a dozen farms in the area that have a lot of farm equipment that some people might think is junk, which isn't, but it's gonna look that way to certain people. Or does it mean that somebody's gotta come out and start complaining as this situation is with Madam Jonathan?
So grandfathering is really more of a concept in dealing with zoning ordinances. So for example, if you have, let's say you have you run a bait shop and the property is zoned properly for a bait shop, and then the zoning ordinance is amended and now bait shops are no longer legal in that zoning district. Well, as long as you're still running the bait shop where you were, your grandfather in, you don't, so that's a zoning ordinance concept. What we're dealing with here is a blight ordinance, which is something that really does not deal nearly as much with the idea of grandfathering. So no, it's not a situation where blight is grandfathered in and, well, you had blight before we passed the ordinance, therefore you get to hang on to it.
Right.
That's more of, it's not, this is not in the zoning context, it's a blight ordinance context.
But there again, the complaint should be eye level. I'm standing in my driveway, I look at my neighbor's house, and I don't like their garbage, that's one thing, but to be flying over with drones and spying on everybody, I think that's pushing the envelope. I think you're kind of saying that yourself, but.
Again, there's different townships have taken different positions on that, and it's, it really depends on what the township is comfortable with. I can give advice as to where the legal lines are on that, but it really depends upon what the township wants to do as far as what evidence it wants to bring moving forward.
Anybody else for public time? Okay, we'll move on to consideration for approval of the agenda. I just wanted to add the Polynesian Trail to C.
Make a motion to add Polynesian Trail on as C and accept the agenda as presented.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we have our minutes from January 13th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from January 13th.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have payment of the bills.
I looked over them, they look great, and everybody's doing a good job. And I will make a motion to pay the bill.
Awesome.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any correspondence? The treasurer's financial report?
As you see on their treasurer's report, everything is good there, and it's nice. Oxford just opened Cedars, which is nice because each Cedar then is FDIC insured, so it's awesome. It allows us to continue doing more business in Oxford now that they have that, so that's awesome. Also, taxes are due on the 17th, so we'll be here on the 17th.
We are closed for President's Day.
We are closed on President's Day.
Monday.
Yeah, I mean, all banks, everything's all closed on President's Day.
Okay.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the zoning report. Your records, and then we have the committee reports. We'll start with the fire department.
So for the month of January, we had 33 calls. They ranged between 14 ambulance calls, 1 CO investigation, 1 domestic, 1 fire alarm, 1 wires on fire, 1 juvenile, or 3 juvenile complaints, 1 motorist assist, 2 smoke investigations, 1 structure fire, 4 suicidal persons, 1 utility problem, 1 welfare check. For January training, on January 5th, we had our general meeting with 95% in attendance with 3 excused. On January 8th, we had SCBA training with 89% in attendance, 7 excused. January 15th, we had ice rescue, 79% attendance with 5 excused. January events, we had Bill's retirement party, had a wonderful turnout for it. We did our annual fire department and awards banquet for the fire department. This year we had alumni were invited as well. We had a great turnout. I think there was 38 people there in total. Dave Smith completed his mentor program book, and he received his pager and station keys and is now responding to calls. We refilled 1 fire extinguisher through Summit Fire Protection. We replaced replaced some old safety wands in the trucks. We upgraded them to LED, they were the old flashlight style ones. And we renewed our CPR training center certification. Tommy Gilden has completed everything except for his physical. He's scheduled to go on the 18th to get his physical done, and then he will start his mentoring program. Upcoming events, February 12th, we're scheduled to do our rodeo training, which is like our driver's training. February 15th, we have a pancake breakfast. And that's
this Sunday.
This Sunday, it runs from 8 to noon. February 19th, we have ropes and knots training. March 2nd, Lapeer County EMS is going to send a ambulance to the station and go through it with all of our first responders, so we know where all their equipment is, so when we're on scene, it's easier to work with them. March 12th, we're doing our SCBA fit testing. March 19th, we're doing a hose deployment.
Thank you.
What's a juvenile complaint as it relates to the fire department?
That, I think all 3 of those were at the school. So it'd be like behavior issues where the parents want them transported to the hospital for evaluation and stuff.
Next, police chief report.
Okay, last month we had 360 calls for service. Roads were a little tough and things like that, so our traffic stops were down. We had 43 traffic stops last month, 10 citations issued for various traffic violations. 13 traffic crashes handled by officers. The good thing is, in all those tough roads, we had no injuries in any of those reported. So that's great. We had 1 arrest for operating while intoxicated, and like I said, road conditions are difficult, but officers did a nice job out there navigating the roads. We still get up and down, and all our vehicles have all-wheel drive. We get out there, get our property inspections done, get down all the side roads, the private roads, all of that stuff during all those times. Along the way, we try to go out of our way to help people that are either just stuck on the side of the road or it's not out of the ordinary for our guys to get out with a little pushing, and I mean by hand. So, so we try to be of help any way we can. So, we're still in the search for a couple of part-time positions that we have open. Officers assisted on 19 medical-related calls and 3 fire-related calls last month. In downtime, officers stay busy while they're on duty doing virtual training with Flexible Police 1. We've got a lot of hours logged already into that this year. That's a great asset to have. Our property inspection list, like I said, is growing. We've got about 30 or 40 homes on that right now, and quite a few new ones, which is good. So I encourage people to utilize that. A lot of people will be going away in the next month, either for get a little warmer weather or the end of next month for spring break or whatever it'll be. Weekend, weekdays, a month, it doesn't matter. You can sign up for whatever you would want us to do. Just a side note to everybody, a lot of delivery companies, they're having tough times as well. They've got some policies out there where they're not driving up driveways. We've had a lot of reports of people, calls in, they see somebody up around their home or up on their porch, but they don't see a delivery vehicle. A lot of times they're parking at the road walking up, and unfortunately, a lot of them are parking at the end of the road and just leaving the packages there as well. So we've had some of those packages come up missing. I think some are literally getting plowed away. So just keep an eye on your neighbors and stuff like that. If we can be them, then we will. Things like that. The addresses are tough to find. Got a lot of drivers that aren't familiar with our area for some of these companies. We do our best to kind of point out where they're supposed to be going and things like that, but it's tough. So the weather hasn't helped. One other thing I had is that I wanted to make sure I gave a shout out to RSI Audio and Video Security. They're a company that's owned by a man named Bob Jenkins out of Armada. They have donated to us video equipment for the police department for inside and outside at no cost. And that's a big deal. Mr. Jenkins is a heck of a guy. He has actually donated equipment for several police departments. He's done it for Elmont, and he's done it for Armada Police Department too. He's all in on wanting to help, and with no expectation. It's a pretty nice thing to do. So
Out of his own personal money?
So
Is that out of his own personal money?
it's his business. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's all I got.
Thank you, Sean.
That's very nice.
Nice thing. We will move on to, on the agenda, we have Russ Underwood from St. John's Episcopal Church.
Well, let's have something that makes us all feel good here. Nothing more depressing than having all our problems that we need to solve. But my name is Russ Underwood. I'm from St. John's Episcopal Church here in Dryden. About 8 years ago, actually, this month, we all sat down in our vestry meeting, and we thought we should do something about our teenagers. So about a week later, we came up with an outline. It's Outreach Team Relief. And so what this does, this outline has a church in an area. We go to the high school in our area, and we sponsor anything that the teenagers need. So we started out by pretty small steps by taking donations from coats and cold weather items. We specified that they still have the manufacturer and the sales on the jacket or whatever. So when it's presented to the student, is a genuine contribution, not just a used piece of clothing. So part of this is just mostly teen building up self-esteem, trying to level the playing field. So we had gone into sponsoring teenagers for graduation, for sports events. Last year we did something that really makes me smile. We had, because parents support the sports programs at high school, they have to pay for the admission and all. So there's a family, I was told by Kim, the counselor at the high school, large family, they didn't have the money to see their son's basketball game. So we sponsored the parents instead of the team to go for the entire season of basketball. So we've reached out and we've established ourselves, like I say, graduations, and we've even sent students to summer camp. Anything where there's a need for the team, we've actively tried to take care of that. And, so there's an event I had to come here and tell everybody about. The principal at Dryden High School had a project going on, and it cost about $24,000. She wanted to put together a 3D scan lab for the students. They weren't really into the robotics like the other high schools were. They wanted something that had a little bit more impact for themselves. And so we had a church meeting and got a hold of the foundations here. And the two foundations, the 4CCF and the LCCF, the three of us came up with $24,000. And so we partnered with the high school. And the last I heard, we got a hold of the principal, and she said that the scanner itself, being a very expensive piece of equipment, it's going to take a few more months to build. And so by this fall, I've been told, they should have their 3D lab working, and for the students to use whatever they want to scan. She also put in a request for a sewing lab. They have computerized sewing machines, I guess, and a photo lab. They have cameras that are computerized. And so she is going to have something very complete for her students to use for years. And I have a friend of mine. He owns a company that builds prosthetics, medical prosthetics. And they use scanners. And I'm going to have him come to the high school and give these students a little pep talk about how they can take this beyond high school, which is very promising. Makes me want to go back to high school myself. So I want to come here tonight and let everybody know how great our foundations are here. And I'm so proud of them. And Mary Finnegan, principal, and Kim.
Fleming.
Pardon?
Fleming.
Thank you. Our hard-working counselor and her friends too. They put together the part of the program was that we would donate winter clothes and items that the teens could use, and they made a space for storing all of these so that if they saw a student, they would call them into the office with his privacy and present them with whatever item it was. And then they'd go out the door with no big fuss and nothing, so that the self-esteem thing really kind of kicks in and makes them feel a little bit better. I think we've accomplished something there. We adults, the teenagers really don't trust us. It's all right. But we show that we have some interest in them. I think that we're bridging and making some progress. So good for us and good for this area. I'm very proud of this here.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
So you guys looking for donations?
Yes. We always look for donations. I know that the last 4 or 5 years we have sponsored the graduation party, and so we're always taking donations to help with things of that nature that we can cover. And as graduation is coming up, if there are students that need money for, we usually give the ladies a gift card for $100 and some for them to go out and buy a gown and all the accessories. And then the boys, we give them money to rent a tux and things of that nature. So that's coming up. So any contributions would be gladly accepted and well used.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Nice job.
Next on our agenda is a consent judgment for a zoning violation.
Sure. So briefly, the court, so as the township knows, we filed a suit to remove the upholstery from the property, which is not allowed under the zoning ordinance. There was a court hearing on that on January 12th. Mr. Murray appeared and asked for some more time to respond to that. The court set a later hearing date. Before we got to that hearing date, Mr. Murray contacted us and said he had removed all of the poultry and just wanted to resolve the lawsuit. So we postponed that hearing date out until a later time to allow us an opportunity to bring the consent judgment to the township board. Mr. Murray has signed a consent judgment. We need township board approval to sign that from our side of it and to resolve the lawsuit. But in a nutshell, the consent judgment acknowledges that he has removed all poultry from the property. It states on here that he's agreed not to keep any any poultry on his property in the future, and makes that into a court order that runs with the land. So it is something that can be recorded at the registry if the township chooses to do so. And that also dismisses the lawsuit. So if there's questions about that, I'm happy to answer those. It's a fairly straightforward resolution. In a nutshell, he voluntarily complied with the zoning ordinance, and we got what we asked for when we filed the complaint. So
we just need a motion to sign the consent judgment with Stephen Murray.
yes, if there's questions about it, I'm happy to answer those. But yes, we need the township board to vote on signing the consent judgment that was presented.
I'll move.
I'll second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk about the Pollyant Trail a little bit. They've got some sage that works for the, I guess, Eagle, the state of Michigan. She is really helping us get grants, and we've got grants so far, but one of the processes is that we think that we need to do like an agreement, especially with Emily City, Emily Township, Attica, and Dryden, to maybe be in charge of the Trail South just to procure all these grants, because with the county has limitations. So I will bring something forward more at the next meeting, but I just wanted to kind of tell you what's going on. But she's applying for all different types of grants, and to go spend money on the trail, because the state owns it, you really need the grant money to do it the way they want to do it. Yes. So she's been the first one that's helped us this much, and she's already got the grant for, I think it's around 500,000. So that's just the beginning. So we'll just be moving ahead. But we're having,
What's her name?
I think it's Sage Hegel. Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to inform you of that. She's already got some money, but the way, and I'll bring more information for you, but I think it's the way the county is situated, because they agreed when it was, they never wanted to spend money on the trail. But that was, 25 years ago, or 30, whatever. They're still holding on to that a little bit. There's still people around.
So there's probably like a list of priorities too for the trail, right, that they want.
Yeah, that's why we're focusing on the south, because Acadia is one of the ones that in the north, they don't want it as much.
So south is from where to where, like south
South of Emily City.
South of Emily City.
Like Emily
Up
City
to
has.
the border of our township.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I'll open it back up for public time. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Oh, no, hi. By the way, I always.
What's going on? How are you? Good to see you.
I'm sorry, I haven't got the whole half year.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
it's good
okay.
talking to you,
But
like,
I still have a week of the morning, so it's,
probably
when you do it right in this
12 times now.
Yes.
Sorry.
Replace that.